It's post-GenCon time, and I have to apologize for the delay on this one. I got hit with the dreaded GenCon crud. And not just any crud, I rolled a D20 and somehow scored a natural crit for maximum sickness. But I've recovered enough to bring you my top 10 best games from GenCon. So let's dive right in before I fail another saving throw.
All that I got will never stop, give it all. Straight to the top, will never fly, give it all. All that I have, I let it be. Cause nobody's better than me. What do you see? Give it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Good gaming champions, and welcome to my post-GenCon 2025 top 10 video. This video is going to highlight the 10 games that I walked away from GenCon 2025 either owning or the most excited about. This year was a little bit different for me because, to put it mildly, it was a solo campaign. Unfortunately, Dion nor Shay had the ability to go to GenCon this year, and so I wanted to make sure that, one, I had a chance to experience GenCon. I've only been twice, so it's something that I'm not tired of. It's something that I always get really excited about, and unfortunately, the last couple of years, I've been on vacation or sick or something's happened that's caused me to not be able to go. So I wanted to make sure that even though I was going to go by myself, I still was able to go. Unfortunately, my family was thinking about going, but then they saw the videos of the nerd rush into the hall on day one and said, no bueno, not going to happen. So this year I did have the chance to go by myself and I did document it, and it's a half log, half just a video. I'm going to be posting that here real soon to just kind of highlight all the cool things that I saw at Gen Con, some of the really cool art, and just kind of break down with Dion and Shay some of the really neat things that I saw so that can kind of catch them up to date with what it was like and some of the big exciting things coming to the board game hobby for the rest of this year. But before we get into all of that, this video is not about that. That video will come soon. This video is all about highlighting the games that I either walked away owning because I couldn't wait, or can't wait because they're coming later this year or sometime beginning of next year. And so without further ado, let's get to, I was going to say top 10, but let's be honest, they're going to be honorable mentions because there's like 800 board games at Gen Con that are all being presented to you. And that's the thing I think for a lot of people, it's the most intimidating, is because even if you go Thursday through Sunday like I did, from start to finish every single day, I still on Sunday night was coming across games that I had never seen before. And it was kind of frustrating because there was even some vendors like Thunderworks, for example. I literally on, I think Saturday right before close, that was the first time I had found them. And I swear I had been through every single stall in the entire hall. That's how big Gen Con is. Plus, there's so many people. If you go, you know this, you're swarmed with people constantly. So it's even just hard sometimes to see everything just because you're constantly being swayed in so many directions to see it all. But I will say this, having gone to Gamma, Origins, and Gen Con, I can definitely say that all three of them have a serious place in the hobby. Gamma was amazing because that was the place where I probably got the most time with all the developers and publishers to talk business and try to let them know about our channel and who we are at Champions of Tabletop. And of course, if this is the first time you're seeing us, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It means the world for us. We are marching towards 1,000 and we are getting close. In fact, our last video highlighting the oversaturation in the board game hobby was one of our most successful videos we've ever had, and we cannot thank you enough. So if this is the second video you've seen because you subbed on that one, thank you for being here. I cannot tell you how much hard work the three of us put into making this channel function, to making sure it works. All three of us have full-time jobs. This is a labor of love, and we do a lot to try to make it as great as we possibly can with the limitations that we have. So the fact that you took the time to sub, the fact that you want to see more content from us, it literally means the absolute world. And with that sappiness, back to the Gen Con stuff. So with that experience, I can confidently tell you that it's really hard to make a list like this where you boil it down to just literally 10 games because there's just so many. And so without making this a 2-hour long video, because to be frank with you, I am getting over the con crud. I came back on Sunday of last week And to be frank with you, on Monday through Wednesday, I didn't even go to work. And Thursday, I showed up because I had to, but I was physically there and mentally not. So I have really only this week finally started to get over it. And I kind of got to the point where I had to get this video done since we missed our video for last week, which we apologize for. So without further ado, to boil it down, because I don't have a voice for everything, I'm going to go through just a couple games that I want to highlight. The first one I'm going to bring up as an honorable mention is going to be by Direwolf. And I have to tell you, I think one of the fascinating things I've seen with Direwolf is they are kind of low-key becoming the go-to company when it comes to digital board games. We have seen them roll out an incredible edition of Dune Imperium. I believe Clank is coming, and I think that they have signed licensed agreements with a few games that they don't personally publish to bring to the video game space coming soon. And obviously, especially with tariffs being such a big deal over the past 5 months in the hobby space, the thing with video games is they're not going to be subject to tariffs in the same way. All of that can be done in-house. All of them are digital assets, so there's no printing, there's no shipping, there's no tariffs that you have to worry about. Depending on how well you do it, the profit margins potentially can even be a little bit higher too. So there really is a big appeal to create a high-quality digital video game version of a board game because arguably a higher percentage of profit can actually go to the developers and publishers. So we're definitely seeing a move towards that. And as they get better and better, I'll tell you what, arguably for some games like Frosthaven, for example, which is sitting over my shoulder over there, I'm playing the new one that I got a beta of at GenCon. It is stunning. And I don't know if I possibly will ever play the board game. And I think Quackalope did a video on this a little while back about, are there some games that are going to become irrelevant because of video games? And I think that's a really honest question because, if I can save an hour and a half of setup and play the game and not have to learn every rule and all the intricacies and all the interchanging rules and all the micromanagement because the video game does all of that at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night and I just want to play for a half hour, 45 minutes and do a run real quick, that's, for me, sometimes a little bit more enjoyable. So with that said, long tangent on Direwolf, they are coming out with some incredible digital board games. But this one is not. This one, unequivocally, I would say, I think was probably the biggest seller at Gen Con if I had to pick. I don't know that. Just pure guess, pure speculative. But it is going to be Lightning Train. And the reason I bring Lightning Train up is because every single day, within 5 minutes, the line was capped with how many copies they were going to sell that day. I think they sold like 200 copies a day. And literally, Thursday through Sunday, that line was capped off within 5 minutes of the hall opening. It was the game of the year. In fact, I told Dion, this is one you better order for the shop because it was highly desired. So what is it? Well, to keep it very simple for you, Matt, do you like Quacks of Quedlinburg? Yeah? Great. Matt, do you like Ticket to Ride? Well, of course. There you go. That's as if the two of them had a baby, and it's called Lightning Train. Basically, what this game is going to be is it is going to be a bag builder. You are going to build your bag to improve your company's resources. Then you're going to place your chips to open stations and trains, train lines across 8 regions of North America. There's a fortune to be made in delivering goods to cities that need them. So I can confidently say, having looked at this game, I know everybody was very excited about it. It wasn't one that in particular necessarily drove me to have to make that rush to get this at Gen Con. I think it looks interesting. I think this is going to fall definitely in line with like that medium weight bag builder. And again, I think for those people who like those two games, and I think the analogy of Quacks and Ticket to Ride could not have been a better analogy for what it was. I did watch a demo. I had a chance to play it for just a couple minutes, but the line was really long. And to be frank with you, I felt kind of bad. So this is one that I passed on. I didn't go through the effort to get it, but I will say that if you want to know what I believe the most sought after game at Gen Con was this year, it's going to be Lightning Train by Dire Wolf. All right, my next honorable mention that I have to list here is going to be by our great friends at Pegasus Spela. I've got to give a huge shout out to Anton. He is one of the nicest guys in the hobby. And I can confidently tell you, as a small channel, obviously Civolution won our 2024 Golden Meeple Award for Best Game of the Year, and Pegasus Spela won for Best Publisher of the Year. And I can tell you that he was one of the most gracious people and one of the kindest to support small channels. He's a great advocate for Dion's shop to help him really build his business up too. And so I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention one of the other hot games that I saw, which I think completely sold out. And they had a massive display. Unfortunately, I don't know that I got a video of it. But that is going to be Bomb Busters. Game is a fast-paced cooperative deduction board game where you and your team are going to set up into the shoes of bomb disposal experts. Your mission is going to be to work together. You're going to try to safely cut wires and defuse bombs before time runs out, or you trigger an explosion. So the core mechanics, there's going to be deduction-based mechanics. There's risky reds and tricky yellow wires that you've got to worry about. You've got tools and abilities that are going to help you unlock equipment and character abilities to aid in guessing and slow the countdown, or otherwise, kind of assist with the logic alone. You've got 66 unique missions and surprise boxes. So this game, I saw a lot of people playing at the different booths. They actually had two set up. They had the actual Pegasus Spela booth, and then they had a separate booth set up in the back of the convention hall, which is the video that I've got. And this particular game, just when you watched people playing it, it just seemed like such a fun social game where there's a little bit of intensity. Nobody wants to mess up. You want to be the one who completes it and not mess everything up. And so to me, unfortunately, I didn't scoop this up. Probably something I'll buy later because I do like these kind of social deduction games. But this is the kind of game that I think is easy to get to the table. It's fun. It's kind of like there was a video game a few years ago called Don't Cut the Wire, I think it was. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. Don't Cut the Wire was an amazing game if you never played it. You get on Discord with a few friends, and one person's like trying to, save everybody from the bomb blowing up, and everybody has like separate parts of the guide for how to like solve the puzzle. And it was an amazing social deduction video game. And I think that this is, a little bit different than that, but kind of that same theme, same idea. And I think it's a lot of fun based on what I saw people have. So definitely check this one out if you haven't seen Bomb Busters by Pegasus Spela. The last honorable mention I'm going to list in this video is going to be one I could not list in good conscience. The reason is this game was created by Clarissa and James Wilson. And why they're important is because you probably would know them if you stop by the Tabletop Tycoon booth, because they are the husband and wife duo who created Everdell, which of course for many people is a absolute loved game in the board space community. We all know it for the big, gorgeous tree on the board for the presents. But one of the reasons I wanted to start this channel was because a couple years ago at Gen Con, they are amazing at making sure that they are there to sign your game if you buy it, which I think is awesome. But I actually had a chance to sit and talk to them a few years ago. And I just kind of learned some of their story and who they are and some of the journey that they had creating this game together for their family. And it really motivated me to want to start telling some of the stories that are in this hobby. And in fact, this year I had a chance to see them, and fingers crossed, I shared with them why I started the channel, and they said that they would want to be on the channel and do a Tabletop Tales. So let's keep our fingers crossed that that actually happens. I will hunt them down to make sure that it does, but it's a great story. And with that said, Everdell Silverfrost was the game that I'm going to list here. And what this standalone game to the Everdell world is it transports you into the frozen frontier of the Everdell universe, where building a thriving critter city means waging war against winter itself. You're going to gather birch and moss, copper and acorns season by season, just like in classic Everdell. But now you're going to face plummeting temperatures and encroaching snow that blocks your key actions in city growth. Clearing the snow requires fire, a resource that grows harder to generate the deeper you're in the season changes. And it's going to add a brand new, gorgeous 3D mountain of beacons where you can summon powerful big critters. And you've got a beautifully themed, tense strategic challenge that's both inviting and unrelentingly harsh. And it reminds me a little bit, I mean, you got to kind of make a leap here with me. So jump on my back. I'm about to jump. But it reminds me a little bit of Frostpunk a little bit in that style. And I'd love to know if Frostpunk was something maybe they played and it motivated them, because it does have that harsh winter feel. And you've got, like I said, you've got to melt down the different areas to expose them so that we can start to build things out. But man, I'll tell you what, the one thing that they know how to do is have table presence. Like I said earlier, we all know them for the tree, but the mountain range that they now have that holds the cards is striking. So I don't know if it's them. I don't know if it's their key artist. Whoever does that, give them a raise, Tabletop Tycoon, because they hit the ball out of the park. And so I would say if you haven't had a chance to get much hands-on with this game yet, I think it just came out recently. And I'm actually going to try to skip through here real quick. So if I can see the thing, and I'm having the video too, but yeah, here's the mountain itself. If you haven't gotten it and you love Everdell, again, it's a standalone game. It's going to be in its own world, but holy cow, I think this is an auto buy for any of the fans. So with that said, my last honorable mention is going to be Everdell Silverfrost. All right, as a Highlander never said, there can only be 10. So let's get to it. Let's get to the top 10 games that I walked away either owning or excited to get my hands on later this year or next year when they actually come out. So I feel like there's probably no better place to start than highlighting a game that I can tell you I've never heard of before, by a publisher that I have never heard of before, and by a company that I have never heard of before. And that game is going to be called Pudcat Games. And the game itself is going to be called ZeroDay.exe. So this game caught my eye again on one of those late Saturdays where I'm tired and I'm fatigued, and my feet hurt, my back hurt. And I just happened to come across a husband and a wife who invented Pudcat. And they were super nice. And they're so passionate about making this. And I think this is their second game, or if it's their first game, they're already working on another one. But ZeroDay.exe is going to be coming out next year. So what it is, and the reason why I dropped into our top 10, or my top 10, I should say, is because it's a dark, neon-soaked cyberpunk co-op dungeon crawler. So you're going to have a squad of 6 highly digitized misfits who are going to help you hack through waves of AI bots and fight to reclaim the city of Shijima? I think that's how they say it. Shijima? Say it with confidence and people believe you, right? It's Shijima. Each character is going to bring unique strengths. They're going to have you build your deck on the fly, which is going to unlock different powerful upgrades and gear and abilities as you navigate through shifting objectives and an escalating amount of threat that the game is going to give. The campaign structure is going to give depth beyond a one-shot. So you're going to strategize, adapt, and evolve over 2 to 4 hours of a lot of cooperative type of chaos. So if you're deep into immersion, evolving strategy, thematic grit, and you love the cyberpunk theme, well, then this game is absolutely one that you are going to want to get your hands on. And one of the things that I like, they do have the acrylic standees, and I do think that they're going to have actual um, miniatures as well. I have in the video, I believe. So if it's already played, you've seen it. But if it hasn't, here it is. Um, they did a beautiful job with foiling the cards. For a new company, the board looks beautiful. That's kind of what caught my eye with it in the first place. I'm a sucker for Cyberpunk. I love the game. I have bought now both versions of Cyberpunk, the board game. I've bought the new one that may or may not come out, Simon, who knows? So I love the theme of Cyberpunk. So that's what this is. Burn Cycle is one. I have everything with Burn Cycle from Chip Theory Games. So this game, it just seems like there's going to be a lot of depth to this dungeon crawler. The cards look gorgeous. The board looks gorgeous. And to be frank with you, this is just a passionate project for the two husband and wife of Pudcat Games. And that's why I wanted to make sure that it was put on number 10, is because I don't know how many people saw this at Gen Con, but I want to make sure more people see it. It's going to be coming out later this year or early next year, I believe, is actually the answer. In fact, I'm going to edit this and say that their intent is to have this game available for purchase at Gen Con next year. So if you haven't followed the campaign, I think they're going to be coming out with a Kickstarter. Make sure you go follow it. Go check it out. But 0 Day EXE is definitely one that should be on your list. If it hasn't been seen by you yet, make sure you watch it going forward. All right, number 9 is going to come from Envy Born Games, and that is going to be Hercules and the 12 Labors. I don't need to tell you much about this game because Matt, who is one of the heads of Envy Born Games, actually did it all for me. So with that said, take it over, Matt.
So this is Hercules and the 12 Labors. It is a solo game where you're taking on the role of Hercules and you are tasked with battling through the 12 labors. To begin the game, we're going to go against the first labor, which is the Nemean Lion. Every labor in the game actually has a lore card. So you get to read up on the lore and understand about the labor itself and immerse yourself in the experience. The Nemean Lion itself has 6 health, which is shown here. So we're actually going to put a die there to signify that. So as we damage it, we can lower the health track of the Nemean Lion and keep track of that easily. The white icons next to it is telling us how we can hurt the Nemean Lion. The Nemean Lion can be hurt if we roll 6s and 5s on our turn. So now that we know how the Nemean Lion works, we can look at how we start the game. So we always start the game with our bow, and our bow allows us to change the value of any one die, up or down a point, but we have to lose one of our health points if we want to use that. There are a few ways to start the game. We could start on the Mortal mode, which is 5 dice, the Demigod mode, which is 4 dice, or the God mode, which is 3 dice, and very difficult. I recommend starting on the Demigod mode. Now that we know how the game works, we have our event deck. Before each labor, we have to flip one over, and an easy way to think of this is a cursing or a blessing from the gods. This one was bad. Most of them are. Don't feel bad. We would lose 3 health right off the bat to start the game, and now we are ready to battle the labor. So we are going to roll the 4 dice that we start with, and that was a really bad roll. So I needed 5s and 6s, and I didn't get any of them. But
I don't know a roll if it's not a bad roll.
yeah. But I did get a 1, and the interesting in this game is that a 1 can be wrapped into a 6, or a 6 can be wrapped into a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and use my ability to turn this into a 6, and take 1 health damage to do that. Now I'll assign that damage to the Nemean Lion, and turn its health down 1 health point. I'm going to get my dice back now, but now the Nemean Lion gets a turn to attack me. This die is going to progress forward on its track and activate the icon underneath it. That one specifically is saying I'll take 1 additional damage. So I'm running out of health pretty quickly here, but I think I can beat the Nemean Lion. Every time I take a turn, this is going to progress on the track. If it ever reaches a skull, I will actually lose the game. So let's do one more roll and see if I can do any better against the Nemean Lion here. A 6, a 5, and a 4. So I will spend 1 health point to turn this 4 into a 5. And this is always just a one-time use per roll. So I am going to hurt the Nemean Lion and get it down to 2 health. And the Nemean Lion will have another turn, and I'll take another damage. If the Nemean Lion dice reaches here, it's going to heal by 1, so I really want to try and kill it this turn. So let's see if I can do it. I was able to do it with overkill. So, the Nemean Lion has been defeated. What happens when you defeat a labor is it actually flips over and becomes a useful item for you moving forward. So we now have the Impenetrable Hide, which we're going to heal 2 points of health right away. It's a one-time use. And now, when we play the game, we can change our 6s to 3s or 3s to 6s. And we can also use any dice to block 1 incoming damage.
So put a quick bow on this. You saw how it plays. I love the look of this. I saw this one at Origins. The cards looked absolutely stunning. I saw Matt actually at a content creator event on Saturday night, and we talked for a little bit. Great dude. So definitely an easy company to support. But man, his game looks gorgeous. And I've got a son who is a huge Greek nerd. He loves everything about Greek mythology. So when Matt found that out, he was like, hey, come hang out with me. And I was like, you got it. So I was kind of hoping I was going to leave with it, but it's going to be coming soon. So definitely make sure you check out Hercules and the 12 Labors. All right, my number 8 is an easy one for me. This is one that I did bring home, and that is going to be Tag Team. Back again. Rex and Affection, let's begin. Old guy thing. All right, so Tag Team by Scorpion Mask. So this, I would say Mask. I try to give it a little flair because I believe they're French. I think it's Mask. Everybody else says Mask. I say Mask. That's how we roll. So this is going to be a 2-player auto battler. This game is a little intimidating when you first take it out of the box because there are 12 heroes that it's going to come with, and every hero has distinctly and unique abilities. But here's the great part. Literally, every card in the game tells you exactly how to play the card. It's very simple. See, right here, it says, see this icon? That tells you what to do. And then it says, oh yeah, by the way, attack. That's literally what you do. So the theme of the game is going to be this. I have 2 heroes. You have 2 heroes. We're going to battle. We're going to battle until one of us loses one of our heroes in a KO effect where they lose all their health. How you play the game, very simple. You're going to have each of your heroes is going to have a unique deck. You're going to shuffle them up. And then, just like any auto battler, what you do is when you play around, we're going to play cards simultaneously. We're going to take the actions that are on those cards. We're going to attack each other depending on what card is played. So if I play a card of like this clay guy here, and you play a card of this marauder over here, well, then he's going to attack that particular guy, and that guy's going to attack my guy. Very simple. Then we're going to flip the next card over in our deck, and we're going to take the actions on those cards. Then at the end of the round, what we do is we're going to draw 3 cards into our hand. We're going to take 2 of them that we don't want, put them on the bottom of our deck. We're going to take the card we want to keep. And now we have to decide where in our deck we want to put that new card based on what we think is going to benefit us, but also based on the strategies that our opponent is implementing. So maybe we know there's a particular attack they keep doing at a certain card. So you may want to put a block to try to get a block in there. You cannot rearrange any of the existing cards that are in your deck, which is part of the strategy of it. This game is one that my 12-year-old and I have played several times now, and it was one of the ones where he said, Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't want to play this at first. This one is awesome. So I'm very excited to get a chance to try more of the heroes. And when you opened the box, literally it was a sword and a rock, and it said 2026. So we know there are going to be more heroes coming for this game. The only criticism that I do say with this game, and why maybe it wasn't a little bit higher on my list, is the fact that it just feels like the games go a little too quick, if I'm being frank with you. I think a couple of the games my son and I lasted maybe less than 7 to 10 minutes, just depending on how certain things went. And so that might be the goal of it. I mean, they say it's a 15-minute game, but for me with a deck builder, I just don't like games that wrap up too quick before I feel like I can start to really get my strategy going. So that would be maybe the one thing that bothers me a little bit about this game is I don't need it to be a half hour or 45 minutes. I just need it to be maybe just a little bit longer than what some of these quick games can go, because it kind of feels like maybe you don't really get your engine going up fast enough. Just my opinion. My son would probably say get good. That's probably true too. So with that said, my number 8 is going to be by Scorpion Mosk, Tag Team. So number 7 for me is going to fall in line with a trend I always find. And that is that one game that maybe even if you don't get a chance to play it, just visually knocks you off your feet. And I remember at Gamma, I played 12 Rivers, and that was released at GenCon, and I know a lot of people were playing it, and it looked gorgeous, just like it did back at Gamma. But my number 7 is a game that actually was brought up to me by my friend Jerry of Tabletop Worldwide on his pre-Gen Con hype list. I hadn't really heard of it. And when I saw it in person, I was blown away. In fact, I did try to buy this one, and shocker, it was sold out. Just like everything else I wanted. So what this game is going to be is from Inside Up Games. And the game is going to be Ice and Idols. This game is basically, think like a Frosty treasure hunt turned tactical puzzle game. Think like Indiana Jones, but with cold toes and a temple that literally moves under your feet. The board itself is absolutely striking. It's just one of those games that when people are mechanically showing you, which I got video of, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, like the presence of this. So basically you and other explorers are going to navigate like shifting corridors inside of frozen ruin. You're going to try to obtain these powerful idols, and you're going to try to deliver them to these altars before the temple basically screws up the path for you. So you're going to have action points. There's going to be module layouts and special powers for each adventure. It's basically a high IQ type of brain burner, basically trying to figure out the paths to get in and out. It's going to be about a 40 to 60 minute game that they would list as equal parts adrenaline and equal parts brain power. But I have to say, again, while I didn't get a chance to play it direct, and they had a lot of places set up, the fact that the board could spin and the way that it manipulated the paths that you could take, it was just such a unique experience. And I think it's one of those types of games that if you get on your table, especially with somebody who isn't overly familiar or experienced with the board game hobby space and hasn't seen anything beyond like Monopoly, this is going to catch their attention. And they're going to be really interested in this. And like I said, I tried to walk away because this was the kind of game where I thought maybe my wife would play this with me. But as I said, it's a brain burner too, and she tends to hate those types of games. So I'm not too upset I didn't leave with it. But again, it's one I definitely want to add to the collection when Dion can get it in his store. And I definitely want to add it. So Ice and Idols by Inside Up Games. If you haven't got a pre-order yet, make sure you get it, because I'm telling you what, this game is unique, it's different, and you are going to have a lot of fun with it. All right, my number 6 is one that I really knew nothing going into the Gen Con about. And I believe I stumbled across this game on Sunday afternoon, maybe just an hour or two before Gen Con closed. Again, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I've been here for a cumulative 28, 30 hours, and I just found your game. And this game is going to be by the wonderful people over at North Star Games, and that game is going to be Nature. Now, there have been a ton of nature-themed games over the last several years, especially after Ark Nova, just so much focusing on animals. But I have to tell you that this game is a gorgeous game. And probably the thing that I'm most excited about with Nature is I believe it was Dominic, who is the developer of this game, gave me a beta key for a digital version of Nature that's coming out. And again, there's going to be a lot of these. He said he would come on to Champions Tabletop and play a game with me on the digital version. So we could do a little bit of a tabletop tales, talk about the game, and play a game together. So fingers crossed, Dominic will get you on the channel and highlight this. So effectively, what this game is going to be is a sleek reboot of the classic Evolution formula. It's going to be built with more of a modular flair to it because there are several different expansions to this. It's going to have things like your standard things like you see with the cheetah, but it's also but when cheetah, I mean this picture here. I guess I should have probably put that up there for you already, but it's going to focus on this modular flair, which is going to let you bring in things like flight. So you're going to bring in birds to this world. The one that got me kind of excited was Jurassic. So you're going to be able to evolve your decks with the Jurassic theme and bringing dinosaurs and the unique abilities of the dinosaurs in. And then there's going to be things like natural disasters as well for expansions. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming up with this. But basically, what it's going to be is you're going to focus on evolving your species. You're going to be boosting population, body size, and traits like fast or clawed to outlive predators and scarce resources. But the twist to it is when you add in, like I said, the Jurassic module for dinosaurs, you add flight to give wings to your survival or drop natural disasters for the chaos. Each expansion kind of fits seamlessly and just adds up to just kind of increase the amount of fun. And again, I'm sure they're going to bring in a lot more as we go down the road with this. So the thing that I thought was really neat was when he was showing me the digital version. It is a quick teach game. You know, they kind of highlight you should be able to kind of teach this game in about 5 minutes. So it's easy to kind of tweak for your group. And it's what they would say is more endlessly replayable. So it's going to be accessible yet fertile with strategy. And it's going to be perfect for bringing new folks to the table and ramping up the complexity, only when you're ready for that. So that's the stuff that really stood out to me. But again, the art of this game looks absolutely beautiful. My hope is that we will be able to play this digital version so that way you can really seamlessly see it played if you haven't seen this game yet. But again, people who like those kind of deck builders and I don't want to say it's TCG-esque, but it kind of definitely had a little bit of that feel because again, you're going to be swooping into this little pond here to try to get the resources and try to increase the power and abilities of your your side. So if you haven't seen this game from North Star Games, definitely make sure that you take the time, check it out, because I can tell you they had a huge play space at GenCon and it was full most of the time. So, and if I'm not mistaken, several of the expansions of this definitely sold out at GenCon. They did not have everything to walk away with. But again, I'm excited to play the digital version. So again, my number 6 is going to be Nature by North Star Games. All right, my number 5. And I know people are split on if you should include this genre in a board game video, but if you were at Gen Con, it's really hard to not have been somehow, whether positively or negatively impacted by my number 5, which is going to be Riftbound, League of Legends trading card game by Riot Games. So Riftbound had an absolutely gargantuan booth at Gen Con to highlight and showcase this new game that they have coming out. I don't even want to know how much they spent to get the space. I don't want to know how much they spent to have the massive play area where they were running events every hour on the hour, the entire Gen Con. I think they had over 90 events. I think they had up to 84 people in every event. Every single one of them sold out. This was the promo card everybody was looking for. The cat girl here, Aura, I think is how you say her name. That card right now is going online for $120, $125 on eBay. You got 2 starter decks for playing in the demo. So it was unbelievable. And yes, I did get in. I got my stuff. I got my Volley Bear. I'm hyped for this game. I love TCGs though. And I will tell you that Riftbound was a game that really has impressed me. There's a ton of TCGs coming out right now. You've seen on our channel, we've highlighted games like Rush Vicor, we've highlighted Gundam, there's Cookie TCG, there's Hollow Live, there's Godzilla, there's there. So many TCGs are coming out right now. But I have to tell you that Riftbound is it is so much fun. And the reason I love it is because it brings some of the elements I love from games like Star Wars Unlimited with the multi-lanes. So effectively what you're going to have is you're going to have your hero and they are going to be trying to take over one of two battlegrounds. You're going to be able to be playing champions into your camp. When you play them, what's really cool is the mechanic of the mana. They call them runes. They're going to actually, with certain characters that you play. So like this card, Annie here, you can see in this upper left corner, you're going to play with a cost of 5. So you need 5 runes to play this card. But what's really cool is part of the way that they try to punish you a little bit for playing these big cards is this would actually cause you to lose one of your runes and put them back into the rune deck. So there is not just a cost of 5, you're actually also going to lose one of your runes going forward. So it adds that extra element of cost and thought into what cards do I want to play, because now you're trying to set up multiple turns. But if you like League of Legends just in general, which a lot of people hate everything about it, but they play it every day, this game thematically fits perfectly because, again, you're using these characters to try to go to one of a couple lanes. This game can be played 2 or 4 players. I haven't played it at 4, but I did play it at 2. And in fact, I played right next to the guy who made the game, which was pretty cool. But the game itself, the cards, which you see in the video, absolutely gorgeous. The alternative art is absolutely gorgeous. I'm trying to skip down here so you can kind of see what the rune cards look like here. And then these are going to, of course, like every TCG, it's going to have alt art. But then they have signature cards, which has kind of become a big thing with, like, especially a lot of the Bandai type of games. But my boy right here, the Volley Bear, absolutely gorgeous. I don't know where his original card is, but the art on it is absolutely stunning, and that's the one that I'll probably spend money on. But the game itself is kind of a step up from like a Star Wars Unlimited. It's kind of a step up from like an Altered. But that's what I think is great about it is it's still really approachable for people who aren't heavy into TCGs. So I think it's something the average person could sit down and pick up and play a demo and have a really good time with. But there's so much complexity to it too that I also think for those players who like the big meaty games, I think there is absolutely going to be a competitive scene with this game. I mean, why would there not be, right? Wouldn't do anything that wouldn't have that. But Riftbound itself, like I said, kind of came out of nowhere for me. I'm not a big League of Legends guy. I love my pride. I love not playing toxic games. So, of course, why would I want anything to do with it? But I have to tell you, what they've done with this game is really impressive, especially for the journey it had. It came out really rough, had a very negative initial thought by the public, and they basically overhauled it. They overhauled the art, they overhauled the concept of the game. And I can tell you that no game probably left a bigger footprint, both physically and figuratively, on Gen Con 2025 than Riftbound. So that's why it's my number 5. So on our channel, if you have ever followed the lore that is Champions of Tabletop, you will know one thing, and that is there has been a hot debate for 2 years on, are dexterity games board games, or as Dion says, are they toys? Now, we obviously know the answer is they're, of course, board games, and I will defend that until the day I die. And I could not be prouder to put my number 4 on the list. This was a game at Gen Con that I went in excited and kind of curious about. As a guy in a northern state, we spend a lot of time on the ice in the winter. We don't really have a choice. We have to convince ourselves that we love hockey. We have to convince ourselves we love things like curling and skiing and snowmobiling. It's literally to protect our mental health. So when you talk to somebody from the north, oh, I love it. I love the snow. Yeah, I absolutely thrive. I thrive in the snow. That's bald-faced lie. They've lied to you. Question your friendship, because the truth of the matter is nobody really likes it. We put up with it, and then we tell ourselves we like it just so we can survive. That's the truth. Just so in case you have a northern friend, they're lying to you. So with that said, my number 4 is a game that comes from a small company called Asmodee, not Asmodee, but Asmodee Games. And I am super excited about this. It's going to be Mystic Curling Club. So this game really excited me because 1, it's dexterity. I'm in. 2, it's curling all day because remember, I love it. So this game is going to be where they kind of describe it as curling meets spells and flicking finesse. Players are going to take turns launching 12-sided dice down an icy lane, aiming to land them in scoring rings near the center, which is very similar to the game of curling. But there's going to be no need for intense measuring. If you've ever watched the Olympics, they get their little things out and measure exactly how far away the rocks are from each other. It's just going to be basically score by contact with the rings. So ties are going to be broken by the lower die face. But here's where it gets wicked is that each witch or wizard is going to have special abilities tied to the dice rolls. So knock an opponent's die or trigger a magical ability, and then it's going to effectively turn the tide of the game. So what they really promote with this and what Chris, who's the developer of this game, he says it's going to be fast, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be full of charm. So for me, it was one of the most buzzed about dexterity games at GenCon, unequivocally. And most importantly, this is one of the things that I got to leave GenCon with is Chris gave me the board so we could highlight this game on Champions of Tabletop before anybody else gets a chance to play it. He's going to be sending me some new rule sets before the game goes live on Kickstarter later this year. So I will be waiting to get that information from him so that way I can provide it and play through with the new rule sets. He said there was a lot of things that they found at Gen Con that he wants to tweak the rules. He found some things that he thought were maybe a little broken, that thought maybe could flow a little bit better for the game. And so from that perspective, I'm just sitting here waiting, twiddling my thumbs, Chris. I am ready to do a playthrough of this game for the channel. I'm ready to get it out there because I think that this is one of those games that everybody stopped by to look at when they were passing through. Because Dion, who doesn't love a great dexterity game? I will tell you right now, this guy does. And that is why Mystic Curling Club by Asmodee Games and Chris is going to be my number 4. So my number 3 is going to be from Bazier Games, and it's going to be The Game Makers. This game easily was one of the most heavily looked at games at Origins in terms of just crowd traffic. People were absolutely blown away by the beauty of the artwork of this board game that's all about making board games. And not just hypothetical board games, there are the real board games in the game that you are going to make. Do you like to make Brass Birmingham? Yeah, well, it's in the game. King of Tokyo? It's in the game. You name it, it's probably in the game. Arc Nova? Sure is. In fact, Jay with the marketing spent countless hours, and I believe over 3,000 emails, trying to get approval and permission from all these different publishers to list their games. And some of them even had some pretty weird requests before they would allow their games to be highlighted in the game. But this game is all about building your own board games. It's a worker placement game, and it is a little bit beefy. One of the most unique and probably challenging parts of the game is this right here, this wheel. And just so you know, there's a little handle that goes on this. That handle is going to be what you actually turn the wheel. But every turn, you're going to have your little forklifts that are all about the placement going to generate what type of resource you get to accumulate to your board to go through the process of making board games. So you'll have 3 little forklifts. And quick side note with the forklifts, huge shout out to Jay. I had a chance to do a playthrough of this game, and it was filmed by a YouTuber, Tim, who I absolutely love, does some of the best work ever. To get my hands on it, I felt like a complete moron. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really understand it at first because there was just a lot of moving parts. There was a lot of ways that you could really build your worker placement engine up to try to make games faster. But what it's all about is placing your forklifts here. And yes, in their Gen Con booth, they had a real forklift delivered that was holding a giant pallet, and the pallet was actually what we were playing the board game on. Absolutely beautiful booth. So huge shout out to Jay at Brazier Games. So effectively, all you're doing is taking your forklifts, you're putting them on these different resources. The resources are going to change every single round based on what shows in this little ring that you can kind of see here in the top of the screen. That's going to tell you what resource you can pull. You cannot move your forklift until this basically scoots to this last spot. So on this board here, only purple can move the forklift to try to get new resources, and green can move one. Once you move them, then you'll move this over, and if there's nothing here, nobody takes an action. This game is a brain burner, and like I said, when I first played it, I felt like a moron. But what you're trying to do is complete the cards, which have the real board games on them, and when you complete them, you're actually going to put them in your own personalized calyxes. The calyxes are going to be where all the game scoring is going to be. So based on the cards that you finish, they're going to have different perks to add more points to your score. As you can see over here, there's going to be all these different ways that you can increase your score through the course of the game. Classic, kind of a Euro style type of game with a lot of point total at the end of the game. But I can confidently tell you the pieces are gorgeous. The theme is through the roof. And once I started to get an understanding of how it worked, I actually played as the yellow team. And as Jay told me, I'm the tree boys. So I was all about trying to acquire these trees to build up a giant forest because I was apparently the only one at the table who cared about the environment. Everybody else just wanted to chop it down. So some people might call me a hero. You can call me Matt. That's okay. But I will tell you, if you're looking for a game that is a little bit on the meatier side, that has a ton of replayability, that has a ton of theme attached to it, and I already know you love the theme because if you're playing a board game, you love board games, and thus that is the theme, you have to check out the game makers on Kickstarter when it comes out a little bit later this year. I think it's coming out end of summer, maybe beginning of September, but definitely make sure you go check out the game makers. It's a gorgeous game. It's a ton of fun, and it's a great strategic game. My number 2, I have to confidently say, shouldn't be a surprise if you have watched anything from me in the past 2 months. Origins 2025, I fell in love. I fell in love hard. And that's hard for me. I've got a closed off heart. I don't open up just for anybody. But I opened up for Giggle Labs, and I opened up for number 2, and that's going to be Huddle, the fantasy football game. This game, I'll tell you what, GenCon 2025, there could not be a more thematic experience in all of board gaming than playing Huddle, the fantasy football game, on the field of Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Indianapolis Colts play their games. Playing a game about fantasy football while you sit in an NFL stadium with 70,000 seats ready to celebrate everything you do. There was nothing at Gen Con that was more thematic than that experience. And just like every game that I play of Huddle, I've played a 6-man, I've played a 4-man, and I even played a 3-man. This is easily one of my favorite games of all time. So if you don't know what Huddle is, watch one of our other videos. I've got probably 40 minutes of content on it. And now that we have our copies, thank you to Dylan at Giggle Lab Games. And Dylan, by the way, is one of the best guys you'll ever meet. He's from New Zealand, so immediately you're going to like him. But he's a software engineer, had no background at all with board games until he was having fun with a buddy of his, and they said, man, we love fantasy football. Let's make a board game out of it. Why not? What else are you going to do on a Saturday night, right? So they came down, they started working through, play testing through, and they came up with an incredibly simple game. Again, all you do in this game is you're going to draft one of each of these positions, just like in fantasy football. How you do it is you're going to get 20 chips each, and it's a 60-second round. You're going to bid on these players, and you're going to try to make sure you get the players that you want. Each player is going to have a level of stars on it. Those stars are going to represent how good the player is. And after you have your team filled, then you're going to go to the week-by-week plays. So this is where the stars come in. So if you've got a quarterback who has 5 stars, guess what? You're going to roll 5 dice into a small little box. That dice roll is going to give you a point total. And then when you get your points, the other team's going to get their points, and you're going to go through every single one of the positions. You're going to tally your points up. Whoever has most points at the end of the week wins the game. There's going to be a couple modifiers, player modifiers that'll affect just your team. There's going to be weekly modifiers that affect potentially players across everybody's team. But this game is just simple. This game is just no thought. This game actually then brings in thought because you want to place trades. But the key mechanic, as I tell everybody about what this game is, it's banter. It's friendship. This is how I know there's a lot of leagues who are going to start doing their fantasy football draft based on playing Huddle. So if you haven't heard about it, shame on you. Go check out their website, Huddle the Fantasy Football Game. Look it up right now. If you have heard about it because you've watched me and you're like, dude, seriously, get over it. I'm not. And we're going to have an awesome playthrough soon of it. And you're going to see how much fun it is. And you're going to want to go buy it because it's literally one of the best games I've ever played. I don't get paid to say that, by the way. I didn't get paid anything. I didn't get comped anything. I'm just telling you this because it's an automatic buy. If you're a sports fan, you have to buy it. Just go buy it. Stop listening to me. Go buy it right now. If you just like dice rolling and you like some auction, go buy it. If you just like to talk trash with people, just go buy it. Stop right there. There's my number 2, Huddle, Giggle Labs. Just go buy it. All right, this is it. The journey ends. The GenCon ends until I do the video with all the other video. But not for tonight. Tonight, the journey ends of my top 10. And there could not be a game more fitting for my personal number 1 space. And I realize for a lot of people, they probably didn't see this booth. I realize for a lot of people, not going to be their thing. But for me, there is no doubt that my number 1 of GenCon is going to be Terradim Gold and Steel by DGS and Brandon Burns. We're going to have a playthrough with Brandon soon. We're going to have an unboxing with Brandon. Because if you remember when we started this channel, in fact, if you go to the front page of this channel, you're going to see when we did our intro video, Brandon was our producer. Brandon has spent 2 years working nonstop on this game. He has put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. He's had 2 children in the time he's had this game, and he's done it around that. He's the Free Blades World Champion. He's done it around that. Brandon is one of the best guys that you can meet. And he had an idea because he loves Dominion. He's a card builder guy. His favorite game is Ark Nova, Feast of Odin. But for him, he wanted to create his own thing. And he did it. And I could not be more proud. And it's not just because he made a game. It's because it's good. Like, it's legitimately a good game. If you are familiar with Free Blades, you're going to know this world. If you're not, it doesn't matter because the theme of it is very inconsequential. You're going to take a player board. Each player board is going to have specific abilities that give you slight advantages. And just like a deck board, there's going to be 18 decks that you can sort through. So there's going to be a lot of asymmetry. There's going to be a lot of replayability because each game, there's only like 9 or 10 decks that actually go out there, each game. So there's going to be a ton of replayability because only 9 of like the 18 decks are actually on the board. So next game, you can shuffle them up. Brandon's also working very hard on expansions as well to increase this, just like any good deck builder is going to have. But this is, if you know Dominion, this is it. But the thing that's a twist on this, and I want to highlight this, and I don't know if he's got many pictures out there for us to take a look at here, but on this player board, and unfortunately there's not, that's too bad. When you draw a card, it's going to go in this first spot. So there'll be a card on every single one of these spots that you have. And on the cards, they're going to have abilities based on what slot that they're in. So where this is different is with most deck builders is you kind of cycle through your cards. There's going to be cards where you kind of purposely just try to dump because you don't want them, or maybe they even give you an ability to dump. In Terradim, when you draw a card from your draw deck and it goes into the first slot, it's going to give you a benefit. It's going to let you draw gold. It's going to let you scry. It's going to give you victory points. It's going to let you draw or buy more cards. But at the end of each round, it's going to cycle through, and now it's going to move to the second slot. And maybe the second slot doesn't do anything. Maybe it lets you draw. Maybe it gives you gold. Again, but the beauty of this game is it takes so much more thought into what cards you buy from the center board, because when the card gets played, it's not just one turn that it's consequential. It actually is consequential to you for 5 different rounds. So from a card builder perspective, this actually has a lot of really unique mechanics that make you think a lot more about, like, well, I like some of the abilities of this card, but I don't really care enough about the rest of it. Or yeah, maybe 1 or 2 turns I might get a benefit, but there might be 3 or 4 turns this card does nothing for me. And do I really want it that bad? There's also going to be a card called Bane, where you can get a caravan, and the caravan will give you 2 different Bane as it cycles through these 5 spots. And when you get Bane, you can actually put it in another player's deck. Well, the Bane card does nothing for 5 full turns. So you really have a way to slow your opponents down, especially if somebody's starting to get ahead. The game plays in about 45 minutes. But if you love deck builders like Dominion, I'm telling you this right now, this game has a place in your collection. And one of the coolest things, and if you had a chance to meet Brandon, he definitely told you this, but if you look at the art of this, if you're familiar with a small, I don't know, indie game called Terraforming Mars, yeah, the guy who did the art for Terraforming Mars did the art for this game too. And that's exactly why it looks absolutely beautiful. It's perfect. It's thematic. And like I said, I'm biased here. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. But when a good friend of yours does something so amazing and doesn't just create a game, but creates a good game, there's no better place for a game to be than #1 on the list. So if you got a chance, it is up for pre-order on dgsgames.com. You can pre-order it now, or of course, go to your local friendly game store and ask them to carry it, because I can tell you, Brandon is doing amazing things and he's just getting better. This is one that you're going to want in your collection. Make sure you add it. Go get it. It'll be out, I think, around November. So my #1, Terradom Golden Steel. There you go. My 10. Done. Easy. GenCon was amazing. GenCon's always amazing. GenCon's a lot. It's a lot physically, destroys your immune system, but it genuinely is one of the best experiences you can go to if you're a board gamer. There's so many amazing games. There's so many amazing people. I went to GenCon by myself, and I wasn't bored the entire time I was there. I met so many amazing people. I got to play games with so many people I didn't even know. So many people just welcome you into their group. Hey, you want to play a game? Yes, I do. What are we playing? I don't even care. I'm just here for the camaraderie. So especially, and I'll get to this in the GenCon vlog video, but if you haven't gone to GenCon because you're by yourself, if you haven't gone or you didn't go because your friends couldn't go, don't let that stop you, because I'm telling you, there's too much there to keep you busy. There's too many people who want to make friends with you. There's too many amazing experiences to have. It is a lot. It's overwhelming for some people. And if you don't do well with that, it might be tough for you. So I don't judge you. But I really challenge most people, go to GenCon at least once, because it truly is one of the best experiences possible. And you get to play some amazing games, and you get a chance to try to buy some of those amazing games before anybody else can get them. And then, of course, they're sold out within 3 minutes of the hall opening. So unless you're jumping over people and beating people up and getting in their face and knocking them over, but you may not get them anyways. But it's an amazing experience. So with that said, that was my top 10 games from GenCon 2025. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not say, champions, never stop playing. Good night, everybody.
All that I have, I let it be, 'cause nobody's better than me. What do you see? Give it up.